Hi, I'm Celeste, and this is 10 Minutes of History from the Balboa Island Museum. So what I really want to talk to you about today is how California got its name, but I can't do that unless we go through the ABCs first. And the ABCs are America, Balboa, and Cortez. And before we go to America, we need to do Columbus. So everybody knows in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue. Columbus took 4 voyages sponsored by Spain to what he thought was going to be the East Indies. They were looking for a faster and safer way to get to Asia without going through the battlefields on land. And so he's an Italian, but he convinces the King and Queen of Spain to sponsor his trip to find this route. And so he takes off in 1492. He has vastly underestimated the circumference of the Earth. And so after 36 days, when he runs into the Bahamas, he's convinced that he is in the East Indies. And so he obviously names the people there Indians. He takes off from there and he goes down to Cuba. He is convinced that Cuba is mainland China. He leaves Cuba, he goes to Hispaniola, which is today Haiti and the Dominican Republic. He thinks that's Japan. This is on his first 3 voyages. On his 4th voyage, he actually makes it to Venezuela, but he still thinks he's in Asia. He goes back to Spain and he reports everything he's done after these voyages, and he's still convinced that he was in the East Indies. Near the end of his voyage time, we have Amerigo Vespucci. Vespucci is also Italian, and his first voyage is sponsored by Spain. He comes over to basically the same places that Columbus had been to, goes back. His second voyage, he's sponsored by Portugal. It's on his second voyage where he's exploring the southern part of South America. The first voyage was more of the northern shore. When he sails almost all the way down to the end of South America, he has figured out that he's discovered a new world, that this claim that Columbus made was not true. This was not the East Indies. This was a new world that was discovered. So when he goes back to Portugal to make his report, and Spain gets the news too, now people are more likely to believe what he has found because he has estimated a correct circumference of the Earth. So in 1507, there's an amateur geographer, and he's making a map in Germany. And he decides when he's going to write on this newly charted area a name, he has a decision to make. Do I name it after the person who went there but didn't know where he was? Or do I name it after the person who really coined the word, the New World? And he decides that he's going to use Amerigo Vespucci's name, and he names it America. And then future maps just copy that name. So that name pretty much sticks, and that's why we have the name America, which later becomes South America and North America. And so that makes sense to me too. So the next person we want to talk about is Balboa. So again, in the very beginning of the 1500s, Balboa travels. He's also Spanish. And because of these discoveries, there are many people in Europe that decide that they want to come to this new world to seek their fortune, mainly because there's all these stories of gold being in the New World. And so he sails to South America, and he spends a pretty good amount of time in the islands offshore in Hispaniola, where he incurs a lot of debt and ends up hiding out on a ship that will then take him over to the Isthmus of Panama. There's a new colony that had been established over there, and he's on this ship that's going over to check on the colony. When they get there, they discover that most of the people in the colony have been killed by the native people, and Balboa convinces them to move their location. The people that are left, there's not that many left, but he convinced them to move their location to a different part of the large bay that they are in. And so he takes them and establishes that new colony there. In 1513, he organizes a trek across the peninsula. He's heard from the natives that there's gold over there, and he's also heard that there is a different body of water over there. And so on this trek with these native guides, they walk across the peninsula, and when he gets up at the top of them to this ridge and looks out, he sees this beautiful ocean. And he looks at it, he's looking in a southerly direction because of the way that Panama is situated, that he's going down the isthmus. He looks out into this bay in this southern direction, and he says, this is a very calm, beautiful ocean. This is not wild and angry like the Atlantic with these huge waves. This is a very passive ocean, and so he names it the Pacific Ocean. And that's how we get that name. He has his problems. He's basically declares himself in charge of that area, but what he doesn't know, because he does send the information back to the King of Spain, but that information doesn't get to the king until after he has already sent another person to Panama to be the governor of that area. When that person arrives, and that's Avila, when he arrives, he's jealous of Balboa because everyone is revering Balboa and not him. And so he basically creates this treason charge against Balboa and has him beheaded in 1519. So that's the end of Balboa's life in Panama. In 1504, we have Cortez. He's also a Spanish, he's a conquistador for Spain. And he is sent over to Mexico to conquer the Aztecs. And in the process of that, he explores the northwest part of Mexico and also the island, which is offshore Mexico. And this is the island right here. So you can see the island offshore. As he is tapped to conquer the Aztecs, they kill approximately 100,000 natives in conquering Mexico. And in 1521, with that accomplished, that is the end of the Aztec Empire. He is made the governor of New Spain by King Charles I, and it's right after that in 1530 that he takes off and makes those discoveries in the northwest part of Mexico. So I think we're almost at 10 minutes, and I'm going to end there because I want to do another 10 minutes to tell you how California got its name. So that's it for now.